Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
Our Department of Justice rules on proper communications between the Department and the White House have been in place for years.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new low point in American political history. You are watching a Soviet-style witch hunt unfold before your eyes. When the most evil assemblage of politicians in America's history is accusing a decent Christian American politician of crimes he did not commit. Just look at the faces of evil. Look at them and take a deep, deep breath as you see the meltdown of American democracy. It started with a lie put out by Podesta for Hillary Clinton about Russia, Russia, Russia. Now it is an avalanche of lies built upon a primary lie that is turned into the truth because, as Goebbels said, Hitler's propaganda minister said, if you repeat a lie often enough, Maxine Waters, it becomes the truth. Old Maxine knows that. Maxine keeps repeating about Russia and collusion, making believe she represents the poor people of her district down there in the poor neighborhood of African Americans, largely in Southern California, while she lives in a mansion outside the neighborhood. Take a look at the evil posing as good. And now let's go back to the crucifixion of a decent Christian man. And I'm using this as a loaded statement so you finally get the message. You're watching the crucifixion of a man 1,000 times better than the vermin trying to nail him to a cross. Tune in now.
Advance the important work we have to do. These false attacks, the innuendos, the leaks, you can be sure will not intimidate me. In fact, these events have only strengthened my resolve to fulfill my duty. My duty to reduce crime, to support our federal, state, and local law
enforcement. Why don't you put 10 investigators on those investigating you and see what you find under the rocks of their donations?
It was reported that
see where the money comes from, Jeff.
Are rising faster.
Put 10 investigators on all of them on that committee.
Last year was 52,000.
Start in San Francisco on Pacific Heights, Jeff.
Next year will be 62,000 overdose deaths. The murder rate is up over 10%, the largest increase since 1968.
Because Obama released murderers on the streets, Jeff.
Gangs, the cartel.
Because Obama flooded America with gangs, Jeff.
We are coming after you.
Because Obama released a Puerto Rican murderer, terrorist,
who they are,
Jeff.
Or where they live, has the right to be safe in their homes and communities. And I will not be deterred.
Jeff, save us from the Democrats. They're more dangerous than the gangs that Obama released back on the streets.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good for you.
Member Warner.
Yeah, those criminals in suits and white shirts are more deadly than the prisoners that were released by Obama.
Sessions, thank you. Thank you for that testimony.
You're watching a witch hunt.
I'd like to note for
on the Savage Nation. Maybe you're watching it on TV.
For 10 minutes.
You can cut that off, Robert. We don't need to listen to the introductions by these louts, L-O-U-T-S, in case you can't spell. We're watching them try to crucify Sessions and make him make a mistake so they could destroy him and Donald Trump at the same time. Now, I'm going to tell you something right now. The Republicans are out of their league. Why would Republicans have this hearing to begin with? Just remember what I just said to you. The Republicans control this committee and Congress. Why would they even agree to this committee unless they wanted to destroy the revolution that we brought about in America? And I'm being very clear about that. We caused a revolution in American politics and in the world, for that matter. And all of those on the other side, including the Republicans, as I point out in great detail in my great best-selling book, Trump's War. You heard me. My great best-selling book, Trump's War. If you think I'm going to hide from that book, or if you think I'm going to hide the book because I shouldn't talk about it, I got another guest coming for you. I told you this would happen. I told you Trump's greatest enemies would not be the Democrat Party, but the Republican Party itself. Well, you're watching it in front of your eyes. They're trying to destroy Trump through Sessions because both of them are outsiders to the Republican establishment who are all old boy network types. So let's go back to Attorney General Jeff Sessions and the obsession with Sessions, the obsession with the Democrats and the Republicans on this Russia thing. By the way, I have to say again, before Sessions speaks, I have a lot that I want to say. I may as well say it as we go along. If Sessions was smarter, he wouldn't have testified. He would have taken the Fifth Amendment. He just should have shut his mouth and not be such a good Boy Scout. He should have done what at least 5 officials in the Obama administration did when they were called before similar committees. If you remember, do you remember the IRS chairman or chief? Do you remember one official after another looking like gangsters under Obama? I refused to testify on the grounds that I may incriminate myself in taking the Fifth Amendment. I thought I was watching the Valachi hearings every time an official from the Obama administration was called before a committee. Why is Sessions being such a good boy and testifying? He should take the Fifth, not answer a single question, let the press go into overdrive, let them scream he's covering up. It doesn't matter what they say because there's nothing here. He does not have to feed them even a single line. Let's go back and listen to this embarrassment for America.
Or that would maybe at the Jewish AIPAC event. And so it was an interesting time for me to observe his delivery and the message he would make. That was my main purpose of being there.
Now, you reported 2 other meetings with Ambassador Kislyak, one in July on the sidelines of the...
Every American senator met with Kislyak. He's the Russian ambassador. Do you understand what a witch hunt is? Do you understand how the Soviet Union operated? You think because this white guy in a tie and a blue shirt is an American, he's an American? He's a Soviet operative here. It's getting me sick, actually, to watch this. I never thought I'd live in a country that is dirty as this one right now because they don't want the revolution that we caused in this country to take hold. But let me tell you something right now. I watched Donald Trump speak this morning. I was very, very proud to tell you I had a lot to do with him getting elected. The economy has never done better. After 8 years of a sluggish economy and a high unemployment rate, the economy is doing well and the unemployment rate is down. Why don't we hear about that? Because the dirty fake media doesn't want you to hear about that. There are so many stories that are swirling around right now. I have to control my output. Let's go back to the hearing and listen to Jeff Sessions on the Savage Nation.
Reported the meeting, the encounter that may have occurred, that some say occurred in the Mayflower, if I had remembered it, or if it actually occurred, which I don't remember that it did.
General Sessions, on March 2nd, 2017, you formally recused yourself from any involvement in the Russian investigation being conducted by the FBI and the Department of Justice. What are the specific reasons that you chose?
Do you hear what they're doing to him? They forced him to recuse himself. Now they're saying, why did you recuse yourself? They forced him to recuse himself. Now they're using the Soviet tactic of saying, oh, Attorney General, you recused yourself from the Russia investigation. Can you tell us why you recused yourself? The answer is because pieces of garbage like you forced me to recuse myself. I tell you the truth. What's wrong here is that these guys don't have any street smarts. These Republicans are too nice. They don't come from a background where they know how to tell them to drop dead and throw it right back in their face. If it was me, I certainly wouldn't be putting up with this garbage any more than I would if I was talking to Megyn Kelly and put up with her crap. I would tell her like it is. And what's wrong here is the Republicans have not investigated all the Democrat senators whose husbands and whose wives have made fortunes on insider trading, on deals that they sent their way. Where is that investigation of the hundreds of millions, if not billions, steered to relatives of high-powered congresswomen and high-powered senators in the United States of America? Where is that hearing? Oh, there are so many things that need to be listened to. Not this junk, but listen to this junk we will, because that is what is going on. And I only hope that Sessions has the stamina to put up with these left-wing Soviet-style inquisitors. Let's tune back into the Savage Nation, tune back into the hearings.
Obviously.
So did your legal counsel basically know from day one you would have to recuse yourself of this investigation because of the current statute?
Garbage.
Well, I do have a
I don't know if I'm going to listen to this. I'm going to get too upset.
I was sworn in on the 9th.
Are you now, or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party, General Sessions?
On the 10th.
General Sessions, are you now, or have you ever been a racist, General Sessions?
CFR.
General Sessions, are you now, or have you ever been an anti-Semite, General Sessions? General Sessions, are you now, or have you ever been anti-LGBT, General Sessions? You know, this is what this is all about. Let's do what I was going to do. We'll come back to the hearings throughout this show. As I think it's worth your listening to, I will tune back in. But I've made up my mind. I've had enough of this garbage. I don't know how much more of this the country can take. We are at a boiling point. There's going to be a civil war. If they keep this up, I'm telling you there's going to be an explosion in this country. You've got left-wing rats putting on a play in Central Park, showing the assassination of a Donald Trump lookalike, and nothing is done to stop it when it's clearly illegal to assassinate a president, even in a mock way. Do you understand that there are people out there who are marginal, who are going to go off like a rocket and kill somebody? Do you understand what this left wing is becoming in this country? And let me conclude this diatribe with one single line. I'm going to refer now to South America, where socialism has taken root. One student in South America, in Venezuela, said Chavez succeeded in creating an equal society by making everyone poor. Is that what you idiots want? Well, keep it up, because that's what you're going to have. Riots, mayhem, burning, and murder, and everyone living on the dole. Is that what you idiots want? You with your white shirt and your blue tie and your clean suit? You're as dirty as they come. I'll be back in a minute, because I've had enough.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
This is Talk Radio 560 KSFO.
As the drive hits the deep right field, that ball is going, it is gone. Maris hitting his second homer of the day.
Cut it off. Just things that bounce or fly. Do you think they really care about old men in suits sitting there trying to crucify each other? Here in San Francisco, a team won a basketball game. So thousands of morons were in the streets last night celebrating. They don't work, obviously. It says fans party in the streets until the wee hours of the morning. Well, apparently they don't go to work in the morning. They're part of the South American type of citizen who lives on the dole, or God knows what they do for a living. They can't be working. How can a person get excited over a team winning a game and party in the streets till the wee hours of the morning unless they're brain dead? So they won a game. Why is that so important to the average person? What are they running in the street for? What about all the dunces who are driving around the Bay Area with Warriors flags on their cars like they're the ball player? Stupid! The nation is melting down from the evil Soviet-style witch hunt that the Democrats are conducting, not letting the president do the job that we sent him to Washington to do. And that is a very important statement that I just made. Donald Trump is trying to do the nation's work. He's trying, and he's actually succeeding, but you don't know it. And you don't know it because of the fake news. I'm going to give you another example of fake news, not only the witch hunt going on in Congress right now. An article came out this morning from Salon saying right-wing talk radio is still popular, but as a business model, it's melting down. That is fake news. My show, The Savage Nation, contrary to some in the radio media, has actually seen an increase in revenue over the last several years. And I can prove it, and I will prove it. I am demanding that the author of this article for Salon, Matthew Sheffield, he will be hearing from my attorney, file a retraction, or I will sue Salon magazine. Because, as a matter of fact, as a business model, the Savage Nation is not melting down. It's growing. And this is what happens with fake news. They attack everybody with their smears and their lies. We're living in the Soviet era. The only good news here is that there are laws and lawyers, and they will pay for this unless they retract that. Now let's go back to the other witch hunt here. Not only a witch hunt against conservatives in the media. Look what they did to O'Reilly based on a smear. They're going after everybody on the conservative side with tooth and claw. But let me tell you something. I have plenty of teeth and I have plenty of claws, and I'm going to fight back. Now let's listen to the Sessions hearing and your obsession with Sessions.
Read with Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein's memo. The fact that you'd worked with Director Comey for some time. Did you ever have a conversation as a superior of Director Comey with his failure to perform or some of these accusations that he wasn't running the FBI in a good way, or that somehow
Governor
the FBI
Virginia.
was...
Turn it off. Turn this creep off. Mark Warner. I don't see anything about his background, which is what I was looking for. Where did he come from? What was his background? Widely expected to pursue the Democratic nomination. Oh, a big deal. Contested, blah, blah, blah. Jim Gilmore won his first election, blah, blah, blah. All right, so I want to find out who Mark Robert Warner, born in 1954, is and what his background is. I want to know how a man like this, born and bred in America, could descend to the level of a Soviet-era politician. Let's tune back and listen to The Faces of Evil, which is the Inquisition of a decent man named Jeff Sessions, who they're trying to crucify. You know what a lawyer's job is, don't you? Do you know what this rat is trying to do? He's trying to get Sessions to say one wrong word so he can hang him on that one word. Is this the kind of nation you want to live in? Have you not had enough of lawyers stealing our democracy with fake lawsuits, fake claims, one after the other, bringing us down to the level of a dirty courtroom? Let's listen again. I don't know if I'm going to do this for 3 hours. I don't think I'm going to take it. Let's hear it. Tune in again.
Out of the blue, the president fires the FBI director, and if there are all these problems of disarray and a lack of esprit de corps at the FBI, all things that the acting director of the FBI denied is the case, I would have thought that somebody would have had that kind of conversation with Director Comey. He was at least been owed that. Let's go to the April 27th meeting. Has been brought up, I think the chairman brought it up. By the time April 27th came around, you'd already been named as the chair of then candidate Trump's National Security Advisory. So showing up that meeting would be appropriate, not only...
That was the Mayflower.
This is Warner, who worked for Ribicoff. That's the first giveaway. That's number one. You want his background? Majored in poli-sci. That already shows you he had a limited intelligence. Number two, he worked for Abraham Ribicoff. Already shows you that he worked for not the best. Then he went to Harvard Law, which already shows you the mindset of this character, where he coached the school's first intramural women's basketball team. I wonder why he did that. Oh, look at that. He became a broker of mobile phone franchise licenses and made a fortune. And then he directed Columbia Capital, a venture capital firm. Isn't that interesting? So he was a hedge fund operator, building up a net worth of more than $200 million. Nothing wrong with that, is there? But you'd think that he was a new Maduro of South America, wouldn't you, Mr. Clean? Well, he isn't, in my opinion.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE.
You're listening to Michael Savage. Coming up at 3, it's Mark Levin on Talk Radio 560 KSFO.
President.
There she is.
He's not your president.
The lying, hypocrite, phony, Maxine Dirty Waters.
He cheats. He's a bully.
She lives in a mansion. She tells the poor she represents them. She don't live with them. She lives in a mansion in a better part of L.A.
West Hollywood. You deny, you disrespect, and you will find...
Turn this liar off. We're watching the hearings now. You're watching one Soviet-era politician after another try to show how great they are. Now we have another clown from the demo. Who's this one now? Let's listen to this character with the glasses. See if you can...
Senators up here who are on either foreign relations, intelligence, or armed services. Conversations with officers of other governments or ambassadors or what have you are everyday occurrences here, multiple-time occurrences for most of us. Is that a fair statement?
I think it is, yes.
And indeed, if you run into one in a grocery store, you're going to have a conversation with them. Is that fair?
Could very well happen.
And
nothing improper.
All right, so this is a friendly now?
On the other hand...
We all know that there's a deep state Republican media coup to knock out Trump. We know that. We heard last week that fired director of the FBI, the incompetent James Comey, swore under oath that he leaked to the New York Times an Oval Office conversation with the president. He should be tried for that. Now, what was the object of Comey doing that? Comey's goal was to trigger the appointment of a special prosecutor to destroy Donald Trump. Comey wanted a special prosecutor to attack Trump, even though Comey knew from his own investigation that Trump was innocent of the made-up charge that he colluded with the Kremlin in the hacking of the DNC. Everybody knows it's a lie. But Comey is part of the deep state deceit. And the police powers that are being used by the media government complex are exactly that of the Soviet Union of the 1950s and 60s. And guess what happened? They have succeeded. They appointed a friend of Comey and his predecessor at the FBI, none other than Robert Mueller, who has covered up the Solyndra debacle and many other things. He's another one who plays to be an Eagle Scout, but I don't trust him as far as I can throw a donkey. Take a look at who Mueller has hired to help him in this persecution. Who are they? Do you know who they are? Oh, it's a witch hunt for sure. Check it out. The fact of the matter is, all of it is a lie. There is no collusion with Russia, and my God, I wish this would stop. I wish this would stop, not because I fear they will uncover collusion, because I'm pretty sure there is no collusion. I fear they could trigger a war with Russia. That is what I worry about. There's only so much the head of a state can take until he snaps. And they are pushing not only Trump, but Putin into dangerous places, by the way. I do not understand how you Democrats don't understand what fire you are playing with. Because not in my memory, and it's quite a long memory, have there been so many attacks upon a president by his own party and his own government in order to destroy him. I've never seen it in my lifetime. And I blame mainly the rats in the media. The lowest class in the American professions is that of the media. That is why they're hated more than anybody. I don't care how cute they look. I don't care how sexy their legs are. Take a look now who's talking. Take a look now. Is Dianne Feinstein? Oh, why don't they do an investigation of the allegations that have swirled around her for 20 years? My friends, do you have any idea what you are watching here? I hope you understand why I'm agitated by this. Here you have a woman who, let us say, has grown immensely wealthy during her tenure in the Senate without having gone into business. Now, how does that happen? How does a politician who earns a fixed salary, very good one at that, with fixed benefits, how do they become so rich while they're in office, while they're not in business? Can anyone answer that? Because I'm not smart enough to figure that out. I can't understand how their fortunes grow while they're in office where they're on fixed salaries. Can anyone figure that one out for me? Now, look who's grilling Sessions now. Take a look at this. Let's tune in and see if I can take it for more than 30 seconds.
We wrote, I felt comfortable, and I guess the Deputy Attorney General did too, in providing that information in writing.
So do you concur with the President that he was going to fire Comey regardless of recommendations?
Listen to who's asking a question.
The problem was
she's on the wrong side of that investigation as far as I'm
Senator
concerned.
Feinstein, I guess I'll just have to let his words speak for himself.
Yeah,
I'm
Dianne,
not sure
fine.
what was in his
Nice
mind
hairdo.
explicitly
Nice pearls.
when we talked with him.
Did you ever discuss Director Comey's FBI handling of the Russia investigations with the President?
Senator Feinstein, do you ever discuss any known or potential government programs with your husband? Have you ever, in the privacy of your own home, ever discussed any pending moves by the United States government with regard to military hardware that may be required, or any construction projects, Senator Feinstein? I don't hear the answer to that question. Let's tune in and see if there's an answer to that one.
Put in writing and sent to the President, and he made those public, so he made that public.
So
Senator Feinstein, can I ask you a question? Excuse me for interrupting you, Senator, but there have been questions surrounding the great growth in wealth that you have enjoyed over your years in the Senate. especially sitting on the Senate Intelligence Committee for so long. Can you please explain how, while you've been on a fixed salary, your fortune has grown by about 1,000 or 10,000 fold since you entered politics? Can you please tell us how that occurred? Because we are bewildered, Senator Feinstein. Can we hear from you? Were there any discussions with any individuals that may have benefited you or your family in any way, Senator Feinstein? We're not implying that there have been, but we don't understand how your fortunes could have grown so astronomically while you're on a fixed salary. Any answer to that, Robert? Let's tune in to see.
Well, it would have been easier to say if it was yes, but both would have been improper.
Okay. So how exactly were you involved in the termination?
All right, let me turn her off because I do get agitated watching her. I live so close to this corruption. It gets me sick. I'm going to take you back in time to a time in American politics when an innocent American named Randy Weaver was attacked by the United States government, the ATF, the FBI, and there were hearings about the execution of Mr. Weaver's son, a 14-year-old boy killed by the U.S. government, and his wife shot dead by the U.S. government. There was such an outrage in this country that hearings were held. Now, take a guess who the head of that hearing committee was, or one of the heads. It was Dianne Feinstein. I watched that hearing, and I knew I was looking at a face of pure evil. She interviewed one of those ATF assassins, just like a cartel member. The ATF, by the way, what do you think? They're good people? Do you think that people who kill for a living are good because they wear a badge? They're made of the same material as the people who kill without wearing a badge. In some cases, that is, not in all. But in that case, they executed an innocent woman and her 14-year-old son, Randy Weaver. And there was Dianne Feinstein protecting the murderer from the ATF behind a curtain that was shielding his face. And she asked one loaded question after another. I watched that hearing, and I knew that I would never again be able to look at her without utter contempt. Can you say for sure, sir, that you accidentally fired that weapon not knowing who was behind that door, sir? Do you know that no one has gone to jail for the murder of Randy Weaver's wife and son? And do you know why? Why? You're looking at the faces of evil. The same people who covered up the execution of Randy Weaver's wife and son are now trying to crucify decent men like Jeff Sessions. The world is upside down. Everything is upside down in this world. And the media is responsible for it. It appears that there's an abnormal mindset in Congress about Russia. A totally abnormal mindset. For years, we had a Cold War that put us on the brink of a hot war. And then that all ended. And then Obama became president. And then even Obama was getting along with Putin. Everything was going along very well. And then along came the forces of evil that were behind Hillary Clinton. And as soon as Hillary Clinton appeared on the scene, she created a devil in Putin and a devil in Russia. And now we are witnessing the meltdown of that big lie right in front of our eyes. That's the entire arc of that particular story. Let's tune in now. Here's old Marco Rubio. The ice cream man is back. The ice cream man cometh. He's making a new appearance. Let's hear what he has to say.
And his testimony was that you lingered. And his view of it was you lingered because you knew that you needed to stay. That was his characterization.
What?
Do you remember lingering? Do you remember feeling like
so now Rubio's trying to crucify
I do
Sessions?
Recall being one of the last ones to leave.
Why does Rubio still look like a boy to me?
I don't know how that occurred.
Imagine this moron ran for the presidency.
I think a counterterrorism briefing. There are a number of people.
Look at Rubio trying to look like he's real. I can't. Do you want to? Hey, do you guys want me to do this or not? I need to hear from the fans of the Savage Nation. Do you want me to eat my heart out for the next 2.5 hours talking about these evil people? Do you really want me to do this? Or you want me to do something else? Because it is summertime and the living is easy. I have other things I could be doing, by the way. It is summertime. You know, I got to confess to you, the Savage Nation, as I tune out of these hearings, I have a certain mindset which has made me very, very successful in radio these 20-some-odd years. And that mindset is something I've never really shared maybe once in these 20 years. You know, every day that I get up to do this show, I have these hundreds of sheets of paper like all of us in the business do. Good producers send us the stories. We read the websites. And then I settle back and I take my bike ride and I think, you know, what would a 12-year-old boy in a polo shirt wearing a baseball hat be wanting to do today? And what would that 12-year-old boy think about hearings that are going on in Washington? The answer is always the same. That 12-year-old boy would not care a whit about the Senate hearing, seeing one guy trying to get the other guy, nailing the other guy and making a mistake. Because, you see, that 12-year-old boy is me. And that 12-year-old boy and girl is you. I don't think you understand, but the average mentality of the average media absorber is 11 or 12 years old. I know you find it shocking because you don't feel like you're 11 or 12. But psychologists have studied this. And I first learned it, 35 years ago, when I somewhere read that the average mind of a movie watcher is 12 years old. And that all movies, all of them almost without exception, except maybe the indies, are made for a 12-year-old person in the audience. And then I thought about talk radio. And although many of you do have higher degrees and many of you are intelligent and analytical, you're not the norm. You're the outlier. You're the exception. Moreover, when you put yourself into a passive position of simply observing news, as you do with television, or listening to opinion or whatnot, as you do in radio, by and large, you're reverting back to a teenage time of teen years in your life. I don't think many of you care about this hearing. I'm not sure about it. I think this is one of the lowest days in American political history, to see all of the resources of our nation being wasted on a fake allegation when they should be investigating the threat to this nation of the Islamic invasion, for example. You say, oh, come on now, that's not true. That's just right-wing racism, is it? Why don't you look back at all the acts of terrorism over the last 8 years and tell me who committed almost all of them? And then look at all of the people being flooded in under Obama's old regulations. And then let's ask ourselves the bigger question. Why would 3 evil judges on a Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals want more Muslims from Somalia, want more Muslims from Syria, want more Muslims from Libya, when we know that amongst them, let's say the percentage is 1%, there are stealth candidates of terrorism? Why would they want this in this country? Do they even think beyond their own gavel? I doubt very much that they care. All they care about is defying Donald Trump and destroying his revolution of borders, language, and culture. You know, I'm talking now about the Ninth Circuit Court of Schlemiels here in San Francisco. It's no laughing matter. I hope that Trump has the stamina to recover from all of these attacks, and he breaks up this court just as soon as possible and puts it on the top of his agenda. I really hope that he breaks up the Ninth Circuit because they're overly powerful. If you saw the courtroom they built for themselves, if you ever learned about the hundreds of millions of dollars these rotten, stinking, filthy lawyers in black robes created for themselves, as they walk in those halls, they think that they're Roman senators. And now they think they're more powerful than the president. But never, ever did we elect them. Do you want to watch this hearing anymore? I'm going to take a poll as I take my break. Do you want to hear any more of this hearing, yes or no? Call the show.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE.